A former four-star recruit decided to enter the transfer portal today, but make no mistake, there is absolutely zero reason to panic about this.
You are Locked On Syracuse, your daily podcast on the Syracuse Orange, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
KingJoseph Edwards has entered the transfer portal per multiple reports. Should you be worried? Well, no, you should not. And I will explain here on this mini podcast. Hello, everyone. I'm Jackson Holzer. This is Locked On Syracuse, and thank you for making Locked On Syracuse your first listen of every single day here on the Locked On Podcast Network. It's your team every day. We are always free and available wherever you get your podcasts. And this is a mini podcast about KingJoseph Edwards entering the transfer portal and why on the surface you might think this is a big deal, but in reality, this is entirely because Syracuse is saying we don't want KingJoseph Edwards anymore. So let's get right into it. KingJoseph Edwards is a redshirt freshman who played in 5 games for Syracuse a year ago, including the bowl game. That's why he maintained a year of eligibility. For the season, he recorded 5 tackles, 3 sacks, and those 3 sacks all came in the fourth quarter against Holy Cross. Yeah, it's Holy Cross, but at the time we thought, hey, this is someone who has a lot of potential as an edge rusher for Syracuse in the future. And KingJoseph Edwards, here's the background, okay? He was a former 4-star recruit in Fran Brown's first recruiting class, which was in 2024. And at the time, the thinking of KingJoseph Edwards was this was someone who may not make an immediate impact, right? He didn't really see the field a whole lot in 2024, which was kind of expected. But this was someone going forward who we thought that, hey, he is going to be one of the main pieces for this program turnaround. And it's unfortunate that that appears to no longer be a reality. When Fran Brown, the head coach of Syracuse, would speak about KingJoseph Edwards, oftentimes it was about his maturity. And look, I've never met KingJoseph Edwards, but I'm going to give you some quotes from Fran Brown, who's obviously had plenty of interactions with his own player, right? Here's what he said about KingJoseph Edwards around the spring game in 2025, which was, quote, "He started out in my doghouse. I love him. He's a great kid. He's just defiant sometimes." And Fran Brown did mention about KingJoseph Edwards that he was getting better, but now obviously he's entering the transfer portal. How is this all possible? Right, because the transfer portal is supposed to be closed for all new entrants, but it's not. Well, in the midst of everything going on with Calvin Russell, the NCAA created a new transfer portal window, but this is not a traditional transfer portal window. This is not a time where everyone is a free agent and tampering, no tampering, whatever. Everyone can enter the transfer portal. This is a portal that gives the teams essentially all the leverage here. The portal opened today, and it will remain open until August 5th. It's designed for athletes who would have or have already been removed from the 105-player scholarship limit. The exact terminology of this transfer portal is, quote, designated student athlete. Essentially, the teams are selecting a player or players that they no longer really want on the team, that you are allowing the player to walk out the door. In fact, to best summarize it this way, a high-ranking Power 4 official told CBS Sports a few days ago, quote, "These are kids that we essentially don't find good enough." So overall, it seems surprising on the surface because KingJoseph Edwards in 2024 was a 4-star recruit. in Fran Brown's first recruiting class. But make no mistake, Edwards entering the transfer portal is not Edwards saying no to Syracuse. It's the other way around. It's Syracuse saying no to KingJoseph Edwards. And so again, we'll talk about it more in the next segment, but that's the main reason why you really don't need to panic about this. Syracuse is letting KingJoseph Edwards walk out the door. It's not a Trebor Pena situation where Penn State is and Miami are tampering with him, or Marrad Watson's getting tampered with Texas and other big programs. This is Syracuse saying, we don't want KingJoseph Edwards on our team anymore, and he should enter the transfer portal. We'll talk about it more next here on Locked On Syracuse. Have you ever decided at the last minute to head to a ball game with friends or family? Maybe it's game day and you suddenly realize you want to be in the stands. I know I have been there. I did that last week with one of my friends for a New York Mets game. That's exactly where Gametime comes in. It's the easiest way to grab last minute tickets without the stress. With the money you save on tickets, you can splurge on food, drinks, merch, or even invite a bigger group to come with you. Gametime makes it possible. Gametime makes buying tickets fast and simple. Prices on the app actually drop the closer you get to first pitch, and they've got incredible last-minute deals, clear seat views, and a lowest price guarantee that takes the worry out of buying. Gametime is the official ticketing partner of Locked On MLB, making it easy to browse the app for an exciting MLB game. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem code LOCKEDONCollege, LOCKEDONCOLLEGE for $20 off. Download the Gametime app today. Last minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. This is Locked On Syracuse. I'm Jackson Holzer, and once again on today's mini podcast, we are talking about how former four-star edge rusher KingJoseph Edwards is entering the transfer portal per multiple reports in this new designated by the school transfer portal window. It's for players who are not or will not be on a team's roster for the upcoming season. Obviously, this is unfortunate, and I wish KingJoseph Edwards nothing but the best. Truthfully, I really do. It's unfortunate that it did not work out. Former four-star recruit. He was going to be one of the main foundational pieces. At least that was the thought at the time when Syracuse got him. And over the course of 2024, we thought, hey, when 2025 rolls around, KingJoseph Edwards, he's going to be a starter. He's going to be a premier edge rusher off the edge for Syracuse football. And it's also unfortunate because, again, former four-star recruit, with those elite prospects, obviously, you spend more time recruiting them. And also, those are the guys that out of high school are probably going to cost the most money. Calvin Russell's the perfect example of that. We could talk all we want about relationships, but Syracuse is definitely going to be paying him a lot of money. I don't know the exact figure, but the point is that those elite guys, you have to spend the most time recruiting, and you also have to pay the most money. And so when a high-ranking player doesn't work out, it's even more unfortunate. But again, I cannot stress enough that this is Syracuse saying no to KingJoseph Edwards in this new designated transfer portal window. For more context behind this, okay, it's not a situation where Daryl Gill can walk into Fran Brown's office and say, I'm entering the transfer portal. You can't do that here. If the school doesn't approve it, player remains on the team, which is why the school has all the leverage here. The school has all the power. The school is letting KingJoseph Edwards walk out the door. Now, there are two different conversations here. Like I said, I don't think there's any real reason to panic about this because, again, it's Syracuse saying goodbye to KingJoseph Edwards. But we could certainly talk about how, is this the correct move by Syracuse football? Should they have designated KingJoseph Edwards as someone who they were okay with entering the transfer portal? That's a different conversation. But as far as, the players, they get too many transfer portal windows and all that, Actually, it's kind of like Star Wars, Empire Strikes Back. This is college football teams striking back. They're saying, we're letting these guys enter the transfer portal because, as one power conference official put it, these are players that we don't find good enough. Whether or not Syracuse is making the correct move, I guess time will tell. And we'll find out. If KingJoseph Edwards transfers to another program and succeeds and does incredibly well, that's not going to be a good look for Syracuse and Fran Brown, if we're being honest. Because, again, they're letting him go. This is not a situation where, Trebor Pena got tampered with. Marrad Watson got tampered with. Blah, blah, blah. Nope. The school is saying, we are okay with KingJoseph Edwards leaving. Are you okay with KingJoseph Edwards leaving? No. Should he have been allowed to enter the transfer portal? Comment in the comment section below. But again, I'm not alarmed by this. I trust Fran Brown and what he is doing. He must not have felt that he was mature enough. He must not have felt that he was going to get any significant playing time. And overall, probably just didn't really believe in him much. Because if he did, he would not be letting him walk out the door. So, with that being said, tomorrow, on a brighter note, we will talk more about Calvin Russell and his commitment to Syracuse. We'll resume that coverage. We'll go over how Russell's commitment elevates Syracuse football recruiting, the perception of Syracuse recruiting, and why recruits might now consider Syracuse more with Calvin Russell in the fold. We'll talk about the short-term and the long-term effects with Calvin Russell's commitment to Syracuse football. So that's what's coming up in the near future here on Locked On Syracuse. And thank you for making Locked On Syracuse your first listen today. For your second listen, you can check out the Locked On Portal Show with football recruiting expert Brian Smith, who's got the latest rumors and signings each and every day. He already posted a podcast about Syracuse landing Calvin Russell. It's about 16 minutes long. You should check that out. You can be the most informed fan on the rapid changes to the college football landscape. Find the Portal Podcast on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts. Folks, thank you all so much for watching. Thank you all so much for listening. If you like this podcast, be sure to hit that like button. If you really enjoy the podcast, be sure to hit subscribe. Tell all your friends about Locked On Syracuse, and I will see you all again soon.